Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Mission Control for how to elevate mental wellness skills equal to algebra and essay writing. I'm so grateful you're here. I'm so grateful I'm here. Hello. So what I want to do is get started though with join the Google Classroom. I set it up for you. Today's presentation is there on PDF. In addition, there's a bunch of other stuff that's going to really help you in your mission to do what we've been learning the last couple days, and we've learned a lot at this conference. So join it. All that stuff is yours, and you can follow on the PDF or just up here on there. That's all my contact information. I want to be in contact with you. But first, we all learn better when we at least smile a little bit. And here's the infamous IKEA job interview. You walk in, you meet the interviewer, and they say, have a seat, but the chair's all, you got to put the seat together. Hello, that gets you the gig at IKEA, just so you know. And then lastly, I'm really trying to work out. So I named my dog 5 miles. That way I can tell everyone that I walk 5 miles every day. All right, that's my attempt at humor. Now moving on. Look, my story is simple. My story is 5 years ago, I walked away from a really cool head counselor job, and I committed myself to erasing the so-called achievement gap and reducing / eliminating anxiety and depression amongst our students. And there was only one way I could get better at it, and that was to fully get into it. And the one driving question was, why is it so hard to change? I mean, have you ever just thought about that? We're going to really delve into that later on. So these are the folks that I really attribute any knowledge that I have about this stuff. I'm not a scientist, but I feel like I've learned a lot about how the brain works, how our mind works, how our mind, body, and spirit work together. So there's the information. How are we doing? How are we doing? These are our pre-K through grade 12 students going into college. Nationally, between 09 and 15, college campus counseling centers saw a 30% jump in the number of students seeking help. During the same period, the number of students just rose 5%. Look at Irvine, USC, Chapman. These statistics are a couple years old, but I guarantee that they're right there in 2020. Irvine, USC, Chapman all saw a really exponential increase. From USC, Varun Soni, the longtime dean of religious life at USC, said, look, there's a full-blown mental health crisis and the numbers are really troubling. To me, it's not an issue, it's the issue. And Brown, Indiana, Cornell, this is from a year or two ago, and they've actually done better since then. But the wait time to get into the mental health facilities, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. This is an indictment on our education system, all right? And it's not for a lack of working hard. Our teachers, our administrators, everybody works their butt off. That's a known, all right? But I just feel like we're doing things a little bit backwards, and I'd like to go into that today. All right, here's some more statistics. The stars are the ones I want to highlight. Half of all lifetime mental health conditions begin by the age of 14. The trippy one is there's a delay of treatment due to a stigma, due to, not a stigma like your eye, but stigma with mental health, getting help with your mental wellness. 8 to 10 years typically from the onset of a symptom before you get any help. From 01 to 15, the suicide risk for black boys between the ages of 5 and 11 was 2 to 3 times higher than that of white boys. Through adolescence, the rates of attempted suicide are over 1.2 times higher among black males compared to white males. Once again, that's attempts, all right? Lower. 70% of youth in state and local juvenile injustice systems, and yes, I said injustice systems, have a mental wellness condition. We are the school to prison pipeline because we're not addressing the needs that we've been talking about these whole 2 days. And then lastly, what was invented in '07, the iPhone that came out, and suicides have tripled amongst 10 to 14-year-old females since '07 and doubled amongst 15 to 18-year-old females. Males have a different set of statistics, but they're still higher than because of the onslaught of social media. This is local statistics that I've done, and I use a rubric which is in your classroom. And this is about 400 students that I surveyed. Simple rubric, you can use it. Over 71%, 71.5% have either mild, moderate, or severe symptoms of trauma. It could be I can't sleep, nightmares, anxiety, depression. Half of this number is athletes, student athletes at Poly High School. All right, so there you go. What I'd like to do is, I love Brene Brown. I've been showing her Daring Classroom video from South by Southwest for a couple years, and here's a short clip.
The greatest casualty of trauma is vulnerability. And let's be very clear about what constitutes trauma. Racism is trauma. Poverty is trauma. Classism, trauma. Homophobia, heterosexism, trauma. People ask me all the time, like, what's your goal in your life? I was like, to make the world a braver place. If you had one opportunity, what would be the most effective impact you could ever do? I said, if I could get in front of every teacher in the world and we could have real conversations about shame, about vulnerability, about courage, because I think the revolution will not be televised, it will be in your classrooms. That is where this will happen. 100%.
All right, we've seen the statistics. Dr. Brown, she acknowledges that schools are where the change can happen. All right, but once again, we're doing a lot, but I believe that we're not doing it in a correct way. We have the infrastructure to help 51 million pre-K through grade 12 students. That's how many students are in the United States of America. All right, and all we need to do is really put our effort, our time, our energy into a proper place. All right, this is the cycle of life. This is how I see it. A lot of other people do too. And it works just like a clock. So you start up, and everything in life, it revolves around how I feel about myself and my belief in myself, my belief in how my life will work out. All right, so those are the cornerstones of every action that I take, every action that our students take, every action that our teachers take. All right, then life happens, or a stressful incident. Now I have emotions and feelings about that incident or what's going on in my life, and once again, it's all based on how I feel about myself and my belief about how my life will work out. Now it's going down. Now I have a reaction. All right, based on my emotion or my feelings. And then after that, now other people are going to react to my reaction. Now we do at school, we have interventions. We have a grip of interventions. Shout some out, right? Tutoring, counseling groups, attendance workshops, parent workshops, so on and so forth. On-campus suspension, all that. And they're all cool. They're all cool. However, this is where we spend most of our time and resources, if not almost all of it. Now, after I've done my intervention, all right, now I go, where do I go? I go kick it with my friends and or social media. So I go directly from these lessons in my life, or for my life, and now I'm just going back to my group of friends that, guess what? They didn't have that intervention. All right, and now I go back to how I believe about myself, how I feel about myself, and that's reinforced even more from my friends and social media than from that intervention. Why? Because that intervention is a one-time thing typically, or once a week. All right? Where should we spend most of our time, energy, and focus? Up at the top. Hello. How I feel about myself and what is my belief system, what is my belief about how my life will work out. That's where we need to spend our time. And here's how the science works. So Carol Dweck, Growth Mindset, dope book, amazing book. Oh wow, I love it. However, I just don't feel like we get into the science of why people have a fixed mindset. Why is it so hard to change? Why is it so hard to get into the growth mindset on a consistent basis or even a one-time basis? Because our fixed mindset is set in our subconscious, or as Joe Dispenza says, our body and our subconscious are connected. And that's 95% of our daily thinking, right? It is the most powerful part of our thinking. It is like a super duper computer, right? And this is what creates our habits. Unfortunately, over on where we are trying to do the growth mindset is in our conscious thinking, our day-to-day. All right, not our day-to-day, but just like that moment. Well, guess what? Conscious thinking, until we train someone to be more conscious and more present, but typically everyone, grown-ups and students and teachers, we're not that conscious. And it's only 5% of our thinking, right? And it's really a weak part of our thinking. It's super easy to flow right back into our habit loop. It's difficult to stay present, all right? Requires conscious decision making. So, look at the bottom. Our current educational systemic plan works to create a growth mindset through the weakest part of our thinking. Hello? We're just trying to do it while someone is like listening to an assembly or whatever. It's not making a habit. It's not creating a new habit. All right? We're trying to create change in the exact opposite way that we should be. The evidence is huge. We see it. The so-called achievement gap, our D and F rates, attendance, at Poly 33%, and we have like the highest, coolest score, our core survey in the district for high school, but 33% don't feel connected. How can I be proud of that? All right, we have to keep working. So, how do we get to the habit loop? How do we get into that fixed mindset? Daily mental wellness skill building. And how can we expand our conscious thinking so that we can adhere to what the tutoring says and all that, and we can really take it in and start helping to create the new habits? Meditation, breathing, and visualization. All stuff that, guess what, every AP class that I know of doesn't address. Every honors class, every class that's trying to catch kids up in reading, we don't get into this stuff. So that's what we're talking about in this particular workshop. Let's watch this. I want to show you an example of what I use on the daily to try and work and create new daily habits. Here we go. This is called, and this is on my YouTube channel, this is called Dealing with Pain, and it's just one example. And it's actually getting into the skill of accurate thinking, the most important skill we can teach any of our students and teachers. We are all meant to shine. We have this lie that we tell ourselves about whether we're worthy of being great. And I don't mean better than each other or better than anybody. And once again, it's great is what's the best version of yourself today? That's greatness.
We're all meant to shine as children. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone.
We're talking about, we're all meant to shine, but we don't feel like it. We don't feel like we're meant to shine because so much stuff has happened. So what do? Look at the heart. We armor up. We close it off. Like, nah, I don't like that hurt thing. I don't like that pain thing. And if I just close it off, I'll never feel hurt or pain again. That's a lie. So now I'm going to show you how the accurate thinking works. Number one, we think if we close off our heart that we will not feel fear, hurt, pain, and sadness. Number three, that's not true. That's a lie. When we close off our heart, guess what? Pain still will find us. Hurt still will find us. And it typically is because that's what we're looking for. But here's the byproduct, the bonus, if you will, of closing off our heart. Now we miss out on the joy. We miss out on the happiness. We miss out on the gratitude. we miss out on the fun because we closed off our heart. That's not cool. That's not going to work for life. What we need to do is get good at dealing with disappointment, okay with dealing with hurt and pain, learn how to think accurately. How we do anything is how we do everything. Put full effort into stuff and understand how amazing you are. But this is the type of stuff, the skills that you need to learn.
All right, so this is an example of, it's in the curriculum guide that's in your classroom, and you go straight to that, you click on the link, and you have a lesson right there. So that's a lesson on how to deal with pain, okay? And the science behind why trying to close off our heart doesn't really work. That's a valuable lesson. I don't care what age you are, all right? And so then what we do, I teach 6 periods of CTE health science, and I also run the Care Center, which is a drop-in center for students and teachers, but mostly students and parents, to come in and work through any type of situation that they're dealing with. And this is a skill that we try and build every day. So I use these. This one's kind of wordy, but use it. You can do one question at a time. In terms of like today, let's do question 1. Tomorrow, let's do question 2. You do a quick write or a classroom discussion. Okay. This particular one was later in the semester and been trying to get students to adhere to the fundamentals. We call them the fundamentals of the Care Center, or mental wellness fundamentals. So at this time I was trying to like say, so are you doing it? What are you doing? What have you tried? What do you need to still work on or try for the first time? So that's what question 1 is. And then the second one, why would people rather just not try their hardest and fail versus try really hard and mess up? Why do we not be okay with messing up? That's a really important discussion to have. So, super simple, gets them interested, uses YouTube. We know the research from businesses that they spend a grip of their time, they meaning students, on YouTube. Let's use it. This is not new what I'm talking about, what we've been talking about. This is a paper, a draft of a 1980 paper that I had. If you look at the star, it says, these failing students are missing what John Ogbu, an educational anthropologist at Cal Berkeley, calls effort optimism, the faith that hard work will bring rewards in life. Okay? Trauma makes me feel like stuff's not going to work out. Okay? And the way we're set up as a school system, it feels like we just, like, look, when you're 20 or 30, go pay however much money and go listen to Tony Robbins or Les Brown or Eric Thomas or somebody, right? Nothing against them, they're all amazing. But we're set up to really deliver all these mental wellness skills like now, each day, preschool through grade 12, okay? Not new, it's just not, okay? Here's the whole to-do right here. Our conscious thinking is 5% of what we do in terms of our mind, our thinking. Our subconscious, our habit thinking, is 95%. We fall back on our habits every day. All right? Let's look at our students who, when I interview them through the little rubric in terms of, me checking on if they drink water enough each day, if they're eating okay, if they're sleeping, if they're having nightmares, so on and so forth. I asked them, like, when did you start having, like, the habit of not liking school? And it goes back at least to middle school, typically elementary school. So now at the high schools, we're getting students, right, that have the habit of not trusting teachers, not trusting their effort, not trusting any of that stuff. And, man, it's hard. Once again, not blaming middle school teachers, elementary school teachers. They're working their butts off. The system is not supporting them. We're working only with our conscious thinking to create real and lasting change. And this is from Joe Dispenza, from Bruce Lipton. This is from Dr. Nicole LaPara. This is science, neuroscience and neuropsychology The research and the science backs up what we've been saying for years. For me, 35. I started in 1984. Okay? To create real and lasting change, we've got to use strategies that work on the subconscious, our daily habits. Okay? And here's the three big ones. We have to prick their hearts. All right? If I don't put energy into something, if I don't feel emotionally attached to something, I'm not going to really learn it. Jim Quick is going to teach us that in a second. We have to create a greater emotional attachment to making changes that will benefit them than the current emotional attachment to their status quo. And it has to be daily work on the fundamentals. Once we have the fundamentals, then we can add new skills. And this includes our teachers modeling these fundamentals. You feel me? All right? And this concept of daily building habits is the same concept as learning my times tables. All right? Learning how to type. But a lot of students didn't really learn times tables because they didn't have an emotional attachment to it. The videos, your lessons that you come up with that prick their heart to learn these mental wellness skills, that's the emotional attachment we're looking for. All right? And we need to teach students and parents this really important item. That power mantras, affirmations, and what Joe Dispenza calls mind movies, and I've got a really simple way of doing it, that you do these before you go to sleep and when you wake up. We train our students, I don't want to say train, educate our students and parents on the power of right before you go to sleep, you're super suggestible. Right when you wake up, you're super suggestible. And what you're thinking about right before you go to sleep and right when you wake up has a lot to do with how you sleep and then how you spend your day. Okay? We need to swap out the worry, the negative. It's not going to work. Nothing ever works. My situation is impossible with this other stuff that we're talking about here. All right? Let's watch. Let me show you.
And we think, I don't want to be vulnerable because vulnerability, here's my slideshow, there it is the center of shame and scarcity and fear and anxiety and grief and disappointment. So I am going to armor up and self-protect. It's also the center of these, love and belonging and joy. But also these things, courage, empathy, trust, innovation and creativity. No vulnerability, no innovation, no creativity. Accountability, adaptability to change, hard conversation, feedback, problem solving, and ethical decision making all require vulnerability. The greatest casualty of trauma is vulnerability. And let's be very clear about what constitutes trauma. Racism is trauma. Poverty is trauma. Classism, trauma. Homophobia, heterosexism, trauma.
Information times emotion. If the emotion is zero, what's anything times zero?
Zero.
What's missing? You know, you have the tools, you have the theory, and we were like, we came to the same exact conclusion. Motivation.
Motivation.
Right? Understanding human motivation. Why can somebody learn something, not apply it?
So let's look at this quote.
In front of every teacher in the world. People ask me all the time, like, what's your goal in your life? I was like,
Hello. Look, this is from Kurt Fisher at Harvard. One of the most beneficial things that brain research has done is made it very hard for us to split cognition from emotion. The area of the brain most involved in memory, the quintessential cognitive function of learning, are tied to the emotion areas. All right? So I'm going to continue with the video, and Dr. Brown's going to finish it up, and it's actually a repeat mostly of that first about the daring classroom, about the revolutions in the classroom. And we've got to understand, that all that list of cool stuff that we want our kids to do, be creative, to be cognitive learners, all that stuff, man, they can't do it to their best because they're coming to school not able to be vulnerable, and then our teachers aren't able to be super authentic because it's hard for them to be vulnerable. And here we are, we're all caught up in this thing because we do not on the daily practice this stuff. All right, let's keep going.
People ask me all the time, like, what's your goal in your life? I was like, to make the world a braver place. If you had one opportunity, what would be the most effective impact you could ever do? I said, if I could get in front of every teacher in the world and we could have real conversations about shame, about vulnerability, about courage, because I think the revolution will not be televised, it will be in your classrooms. That is where this will happen. 100%.
So I played that again, mostly because anyone that references Gil Scott-Heron is one of my heroes. But that's the point. The point is the changes that we want are right there for the taking. It's just that we are, I guess, a little bit uneasy, scared, afraid of change, all that stuff, right? But we can make this happen, I promise. And what are the benefits of daily mental wellness skill building, school-wide, district-wide, preschool through grade 12, United States, 51 million students? Students learn skills that have a lifetime of benefits. They see the connection between what they're learning and the next 80, 90, 100 years of their lives. Teachers and students create more meaningful connections. One of the biggest things that we're all after at our school sites. Parents become exposed to skills that are useful both personally and in their homes. Now we bring the parents in because their students are learning these skills and we can really tie them together. That's an important piece of this. And then another one is students that have negative experiences with schools, they start gaining trust in the benefits of coming to school and trying hard. Because they work through their trauma. They work through the symptoms of it. You get what I'm saying? And then they start seeing that, oh, you know what? We can do this. And even more, and I'll address it later, is instead of me learning this, going to my friends that haven't learned it, now we're all learning it together. And now when we're kicking it, one of the really dope exercises that I have students do is, I'll have them do the inventory in terms of the checklist of all the different things that they're doing on the daily, and then turn it over and on the put the line down the middle, and then on the left, like, God, what are your dreams? What are your goals for your life? Like, what's super amazing that you want to have happen? Like, make their list, make their list, make their list. And then, okay, now over on the right, think about you and your friends, all right? And tell me or write down, what are you guys usually talking about? What do you guys usually, when you're kicking it or when you're out hanging out and stuff, what are you talking about? And then they see it and they understand that it doesn't match. It doesn't match. And then, I go into like, look, I'm not saying don't have fun, but what if you guys were spending time on figuring out ways to make all your dreams come true? You get what I'm saying? And if we would daily build it school-wide, they would have the same language. All right, and mirror neurons is a real thing. All right, mirror neurons is what I see is what I'm going to do. Okay, if I see X happening, that's mostly like what I'm going to do. But if I'm not, if I can change what that X is, then now we're really changing the culture of schools. Some more benefits. Students that have mental wellness conditions, they learn skills that eliminate the effects of conditions. Every student that has actually done the fundamentals of the care center, they improve. Their anxiety reduces, their depression reduces, their relationship, how they see their parents is different, all that stuff. But I'm just me. Right? I can't affect a whole school. So once again, I'm a dope intervention, but I'm trying to creep my way into the system that exists that doesn't really work for everybody. okay? And we need to flip it. The system should be supporting me, not me trying to fix something that's broke, okay? Learning these skills will help students prevent those conditions. Man, if I'm feeling good about myself and stuff is happening in my life, I'm better prepared to deal with it, okay? And then lastly, and most important in my brain, because it actually affects all those other benefits, we build a common language and skill set school-wide, district-wide, of like empathy, accurate thinking, power of gratitude, the law of intention. Why? Why is that important? When individual students or small percentage of students are exposed to quote-unquote interventions, they go back to their friends who weren't exposed to the information. And as a peer, what? I'm supposed to have the courage to change all my friends? I don't think so. It's not how it works. Sometimes maybe, but we have to support all of our kids and give it easier for them as friend groups. I don't even do counseling groups anymore of just like D and F students or just quote unquote troubled students or whatever. Give me the troubled student and list of their friends. I bring them all in and we do stuff together because that same information is actually going to help all of them. You see what I'm saying? They have to have a support system with this whole thing. And why not make the whole school the support system? We're going to stop from me running my mouth and we're going to do this dope activity. It's the power of gratitude, the power of living in gratitude exercise. So in your packet, your handout that you have, there's notes section, but there's a section of the notes section that I asked you to keep blank. And now you're going to use it. What I'd like you to do is close your eyes real quick and think of someone who's had an impact on your life, a good impact on your life, a positive impact on your life. Think about them. All right? Think about what you would like to tell them. All right, now I'm going to give you 2 minutes and just write a quick note of your gratitude towards them and how they've impacted your life. Okay, ready, go. Okay, that's been 2 minutes. Look at it, feel it, right? Now here's what I want you to do. Call them. Go ahead, take a minute, pull out your phone, call them. Read them the note. If they don't pick it up, leave them a voicemail. If you don't have their number, then email it to them. All right. You know what I'm saying? Reach out to them the best that you can right now. Ready, set, go. We're going to take like a minute or two. Okay. How did that make your person feel? How did it make you feel? Like good, right? Yeah. Let me tell you, I've done this with middle school students. You can do this with elementary school students. I want to tell you a quick story about a high school group I was doing. It was 6 young men. They were all seniors and are currently all seniors. And but they all are friends, right? And we've been working on some fundamentals and stuff, and now we get to this exercise, and they don't know what they're doing. I'm like, look, who's had an impact on your life? And just write them a quick note. So they write the quick note. I'm like, now call them. All right, they're all 17, 18. They're like, I ain't calling nobody in front of nobody. But one by one, they kind of either go outside and they start calling their mom or whomever it was. And over here on the side is a student And he's kind of just sitting there. I'm like, Frank, he's okay with me because Frank and me are good. Frank, what's going on? He goes, I can't call him. Can't call who? I can't call my dad. We don't do this stuff. We don't do the I love you thing. I'm like, yeah, but you wrote him a note. He goes, nah, we don't do that. I'm like, okay, well, you don't have to. It's okay. You can just chill while they're doing that. So he's watching them all call, all right? And then after, I don't know, about a minute or whatever, he's like, okay, I'm going to call. I'll call my dad. So he calls him, but I find out later that he's like, I didn't think he was going to answer because he's at work, okay? So he calls, his dad answers. Frankie, he starts to try and read the letter. Dad, I got something I want to read you. And he goes, and then he hands me the letter and the phone. So here I am, I'm on the phone, we're all up in the emotion of what we're doing. And I said, sir, hello, my name is Michael Gray. Frankie's one of my students, and he wrote you this, and I'm going to read it to you. Read it to him. Dad starts crying. I give it back. I said, sir, I want to give you back to your son. And they just spend a couple minutes, like for real, talking to each other like they haven't talked in probably a minute, right? And that's amazing. That's the power of having friends. Then here's the kicker, is after he finishes talking to his dad, the other 5 boys come over and give him a hug. They're all 18. They're all just boys of color, men of color, just to erase that whole BS, stigma about them, right? Loving each other. That's the power of putting friends together in groups that deal with this stuff, as opposed to just random D and F or, like I said, troubled kids. That doesn't really work. We have to build support systems. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to keep stepping. So now here we're going to get to what we all know is coming for us. We're going to leave this conference and we're going to try and implement all this. You're going to really try and do this mental wellness every day. Make it equal to algebra and AP scores. That's my goal in life. Tell me what's more important for someone's life. That they're happy and know how to deal with life's difficulties, or that they get a 4 on their test. You got to choose which one. And the AP teachers I talk to, they kind of hesitate for a minute because that 4 is super important to them. All right? Sometimes more important to them than to the student. And I'm right. So now we're going to get to the difficulties. What are the difficulties? Okay, so I'm taking time away from your academic curriculum. Wait, 10 or 15 minutes a day? These lessons aren't that long. By design, because we want it to be fast and hard-hitting so that they remember it, and emotional. All right? And then the teacher training. Teacher training, who doesn't need mental wellness skill building? We all do, right? And that benefits everyone. I'm sure you know what the most popular class at Yale is. It's Professor Laurie Santos. I'm sure you've heard about it. It's been all over the place. And it's Psych 157, Psychology and the Good Life. 1,200 students enrolled every semester. It's now you can take it online. What's going on? College students are much more overwhelmed. They're much more stressed, much more anxious, much more depressed than ever. And it's not just in college, right? We don't have the system of teaching them how to do self-care and have mental health. Once again, that statistic I showed you at the beginning of my little talk, we're not doing our jobs. And I don't mean that in a detrimental way to our educators. As a system, we are not doing our job. It's not right. So I want to show you Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek is pretty dope. He's going to talk about something called existential flexibility. And it's this notion of what we need to do to make change happen in large institutions. Okay? All right. Here we go.
the existential flexibility. This one maybe has the headiest title. What is it, and how do we watch out for it?
Existential flexibility is the willingness to make profound strategic shifts in order to advance your cause, 180 degrees, right? This is not the daily flexibility that you need in business. A leader, or even us as individuals, may never have to perform an existential flex, and at most you might ever have to do it in an entire career once, or never. But the responsibility of any leader is to prepare their organization for an existential flex should it need to happen. So what is an existential flex? So the best case is really Steve Jobs and his just cause. Jobs and Wozniak had a very clear just cause, which is to empower individuals to stand up to Big Brother, right? They're revolutionaries at heart. And they saw the personal computer as a brilliant tool to help them advance that, to empower individuals to stand up to Big Brother. And Steve Wozniak imagined a time in which an individual could compete in business against a corporation thanks to a personal computer. Pressure, right? Apple's already had success from the Apple I, the Apple II. It's already a big company. Steve Jobs is already a famous CEO. And in December of 1979, Jobs and a bunch of his senior executives go and visit Xerox PARC, which was Xerox's R&D division. And Xerox shows them a new invention of theirs called the graphic user interface that allows a user to click a mouse on a desktop to move icons and folders to use the computer instead of having to learn an entire computer language. Now, Jobs, who believes in empowering individuals, sees this technology and says to his team, we have to invest in this graphic user interface thing. And the voice of reason, I guess, in the team says, Steve, we can't. We can't do it. We've already invested millions of dollars and countless man hours in a different strategic direction. If we suddenly change directions, we're going to blow up our own company. To which Jobs actually said, better we should blow it up than someone else. And that decision led to the Macintosh, the first properly graphic user interface computer that had in mass market appeal, that was so profound that the entire platform of Windows 2.0, was basically designed to act like a Macintosh. You know, and the reason we all have computers on our desks today, the reason it's a household appliance, the reason any one of us can compete against a corporation is because of this profound shift. He was willing to do that. Now, I call it a capacity for existential flexibility because it's not shiny object syndrome, which, you know, too many entrepreneurs are subjected to, you know. This is it, guys, you know, flavor of the moment. It's done with the very specific reason of advancing the cause. I found a better way to advance the cause. And you have to have the just cause, otherwise how do you know what to shift? And you have to have the trusting teams because you will put the organization through short-term hell. And the numbers probably will go down in the short term. And the team has to be willing to say, we agree, we understand why you're making the shift, let's do this. And it's gonna suck, but we're in. And they hunker down and they figure it out. If you don't have a just cause, you're literally just chasing something. And if you don't have the trusting teams, this happens a lot where sometimes the leader has the just cause, but the team doesn't know it. And if you don't have the trusting teams, then people will think you've lost your mind and they'll start abandoning ship. Or you respond to the pressures from Wall Street or outside because the numbers start to go down. But existential flexibility, like I said, if you don't have to do it, you have to prepare the organization for your successor to be able to do it, which means keep the cause alive and maintain the trusting teams.
Yeah, a lot of this points back at courage. What are your thoughts around courage? How do people get the courage to play the long game? It's
not the long game, it's the infinite game. Because a long game could be 5 years, right?
True.
Yeah, this is forever.
How do people build that?
Everything that we're talking about in the infinite game is really, 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 really hard. It is so much easier to build a company based on short-term ambitions than it is an infinite cause. It just is.
It just is. All right, so let's look at this. These are a bunch of questions that I have after I watched that. Maybe you do too. Do we have a just cause? Are you building a trusted team? Are you anticipating ambivalence or worse? Man, my discussions with teachers already about this is they're hard conversations. We have to acknowledge that many people prefer being comfortably miserable to change. And here, our teachers are tired of shiny objects and you are asking more of me? Hello? And then Are you able to explain the science and the research? The science and the research explanation and reasoning is vital to getting through to everyone. All right? Let me show you how difficult change is, just even on a personal level, let alone an institutional level. So I'm asking you, I've done this over and over again. Maybe you've done it. Just do it kind of with me. Here, everybody fold your hands. Just fold your hands, right? Comfortable, right? I could pull my hands apart, put them back together. This is comfortable. This is my life in my comfortable way of doing things, all right? Now, here I'm asking you to move all your fingers down one spot. So now your hands are clasped opposite. That, after 4 years, 5 years, that still feels uncomfortable to me. I learned this from Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul. So now I'm uncomfortable. I'm going to fight like hell to get back to being comfortable. Okay? So we have to keep teaching ourselves, our fellow teachers, our students, that being uncomfortable is actually beneficial. That is the way we move forward. Okay? So, change. Change is hard. I want to show you a quick elementary school lesson. It's in your classroom. This is chapter 3 from an ebook. Your teachers can have it on their desktop and just go chapter by chapter and shine it on the board. And why you want to learn how to solve conflicts, It moves on. If you see, there's a link. I can't do it from this play mode, but you click on the link and it pops up on your board, and you get to watch the video. And then the video has the questions down in the show more part, down in the video description area. Okay? So then you move on, and it talks about how to deal with solving conflicts, talks about gratitude, and then this is just the beginning of dealing with the feeling of anger. All right, and then there's a whole lesson on dealing with anger. Super simple, easy to use, powerful. Okay, I want to show you one last lesson that I usually show towards the beginning of the school year, and it's called Know Your Why. All right, so here we go. Another lesson.
Know your why. Why do you do what you do? If you're in school, why do you show up? And as it says, if it's because you have to, well, you're not going to give it your best. Remember, how you do anything is how you do everything. There is an opportunity in every facet of your life, every day, every hour of your day, every minute of your day, every second of your day. So I have a really good video. It's called Know Your Why, and it shows you the difference. I've shown this thing, I don't know, hundreds of times. And every time I show it, it hits me the same as the first time I seen it. And it's the difference between doing something because you're told to do it and you're just doing it versus, oh, you're right, I can do it better. I can do it the way I know how. I can do it with my more energy. I can do it being myself.
Or how do I know? And a lot of times when people hear the phrase, how do I know? The next thing they say is what? How do I know what? But the key really isn't to know what. The key is to know why. Because when you know your why, you have options on what your what can be. For instance, my why is to inspire people to walk in purpose. My what is stand-up comedy. My what is writing books. My what can be going out with some friends to eat. In fact, another what that has moved me towards my why is a web series that we have out now called Break Time. So every Wednesday at 3 o'clock, you should subscribe to the channel. We do a series called Break Time on YouTube. So 3 o'clock, we drop a new episode. One episode in particular, I'm about to show you a clip to. We were in Winston-Salem. So Break Time, this is how it works. I travel the country, I do stand-up comedy, probably an hour and a half at an event. And in the middle of my show, I'll just sit down and start talking to the audience. And funny just happens. Or I'll meet somebody who's really interesting. So I met this one guy, and he said that he teaches music at a school. I was like, all right, you teach music, can you sing? And then I'm just gonna show you the clip. Check it. So you're a musical director. Cool. Yes, sir. All right, so let me get a couple bars of like Amazing Grace. Can you do the first part of that? Go ahead. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Wow.
That bro could sing. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Now, what you give me the version is if your uncle just got out of jail. I'm just saying, let me see the hood version real quick. If you know which version I'm talking about, just see if that exists. Let me see what you got. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. So here's the thing. The first time I asked him to sing, he knew what he was doing. The second time I asked him to sing, he knew why he was doing it. When you know your why, your what has more impact because you're walking in or towards your purpose.
That gets me every time. And I will watch it another time, but don't watch the gentleman that's singing. Watch the people around him. This is what happens when we put our energy into whatever we're doing. When we don't put energy into it, it comes out okay. He was hitting the notes. You know, everyone's like, But then as soon as his energy changed and he put himself into it and he knew what he was doing, why he was doing it, the whole energy in the room shifted. You get what I'm saying? And that's how we deserve to live our life. And it's really just allowing yourself to be who you are. And when you're who you are, your natural energy will come out. I promise you. Okay? And you're cool. You're super cool. What are you talking about?
So there's some questions, right? Those are the questions for the quick write or the classroom discussion. And that's how we get down. That's how we get down. We can quantify emotional intelligence. This was for my classroom, my classes at the end of the semester. We had to check off the box on all 100 students. And they all did it. They all knew that stuff. All right? Well, I lied. We're still working on completing the Mind Movie project, and you can see how to do that in your classroom. So you can quantify it. It's not some nebulous thing. They learn it. They learn it. They learn it. All right? And then over time, which is what Simon Sinek says, over time is when the benefits will continue to show. All right? Lastly, artificial intelligence is real. All that stuff is coming for our students, and the experts on it, this is what the skills are that our students need to navigate the world that we have no idea what it's going to be like, us as grown-ups, but they have an inkling, the young people. They need emotional intelligence, mental balance, resiliency, like don't give up. They need integrity, flexibility, willing to make changes, building community. All that stuff doesn't happen, as Dr. Brene Brown said, because we don't have vulnerability, and I don't have vulnerability because I'm going through so much stuff and no one's ever helped me really through it, and I don't have a support system really from my friends because they don't understand really what I'm going through or how to deal with it, right? We're set up to deliver. The education is set up to deliver, but we're super weak or in my view, non-existent on this stuff. And the most important issues that politicians don't deal with, and they contribute to our kids and our grown-ups' mental wellness conditions: nuclear war, climate change, technological disruption, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and how we treat each other, race, gender, etc. This is no joke. This is like literally life and death. All the skills and all the stuff, the cool stuff that we've learned over the last couple days, they will not have the impact that we want until we create a new education system that daily builds mental wellness skills, self-development skills, emotional intelligence in all of our students, pre-K through grade 12, and our teachers, and our administrators, and our superintendents, and our board members. All of it. Now, we are making a huge impact over time, even short term, but long term. Consider 51 million students learning this on the daily and becoming a different type of adult. Man. All right? And here, we all know what our goals are for our schools, for our kids. We cannot focus just on the goals. We have to be cool with digging the tunnel. We have to be cool with day to day putting in the work, day to day building relationships, day to day with learning, right? That's how we're going to get there. And eventually we'll get there. If we keep focusing on things aren't changing fast enough, then we'll feel that give up kind of stuff. We can't. We just got to be cool with grinding every day. And I appreciate your attention. I hope you got something out of this. I left time for questions and answers. I can show you how to go through all the curriculum. I've left you with dozens and dozens of lessons. So thanks a lot. I appreciate you. And let's go. Let's do this. Pretty good. Almost. Okay.